Well, tonight with me again, he's Dr. Gukiina Musoke, a political scholar, at the same time, a retired advocate in the state of Chicago, the USA. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, again tonight, we are making a serious analysis inside what occurred in Parliament last week. With me, the political analyst, will be digesting the drama that occurred and the feelings that Ugandans hold of what Parliament held last week on Tuesday. Well, Doctor, Tuesday last week was a defining moment in Uganda's political situation that we are yet to get in February next year. Ugandans were yearning for having an independent electoral commission, having the restoration of presidential term limit, but what played on the floor of Parliament, the opposition are getting divided, yet one thought the opposition was a formidable force. What do you make of this kind of Parliament that you saw on Tuesday? One would say that it was a betrayal in the city.
The betrayal in the city. First of all, why should anybody be surprised by what happened in Parliament? Let me give you an example. When President Kenyatta visited us, when he was in Parliament, our president, present. Members of Parliament, present. Do you know one of the most shameful things that happened there? The president said these chambers were built for about 80 people. Now we are here, 385. And the processes are already going to make 500 members of Parliament. Do you see any sanity in that? That the British people left a building to accommodate 82 people. You saw how they were squeezed in, 385. And those, I don't know how to characterize them. They are in processes of making the membership 500 people to sit in a room of 800. So I'm trying to say to you, we are already politically insane. So you cannot talk about what sane people do when you are in the middle of a totally insane situation. Go to the prisons. The prisons that the British left us to accommodate so many people. Only God knows how many people we are packed there now. Look at the hospitals, where in 1942 they dug pit latrines, which filled up a long time ago. The government has not removed what is there so that the patients that go there can use them. They are filled so the patients go and defecate anywhere or around the hospital, which is built on the hill. And the patients and those who come to look after the patients go down in the valley to draw water to drink. And we talk about typhoid and other waterborne diseases. I know that in front of the world, our faces are faces of people who are politically insane.
The decision that was made, because the whole question was to have a unanimous position, both the ruling party MPs and the opposition, to ensure that the powers of the Electoral Commission, the composition of the Electoral Commission should be appointed by a council of eminent people, not a hand-picked electoral commission.
First of
How do you
all,
weigh yourself in this, that again, you only change the name and you remain in the whole status quo the way it was?
first of all, the majority of people who talk about change this or change that, I know most of them what they say when they are among their friends. They say, for us, we are not going to leave money on the table. We are going to take it because we know there is nothing we can do to change Uganda. So people are all in all this and all that, in all this, looking for money to address their personal problems. So don't talk about loyal Ugandans out there. They are not among the politicians of today. And that's why my position is that the politicians of today have to be put on the side and let the communities of Uganda start addressing the issues that concern the people of Uganda. Now, let me start with President Museveni. Recently, he said that he inherited a failed state. He didn't tell us when Uganda became a failed state, and he didn't tell us when Uganda stopped being a failed state. Now, the example I gave you of the insanity of making sure that you get 500 people in a room of 800, the insanity in prisons, the insanity everywhere in our political and governmental lives, shows that we're still a failed state. And let me tell you something. You can talk about changing laws and all that. Will President Museveni leave office? I think his position is clear. He gave it in the 2006 election petitions. Do you know what President Museveni said? They want me to go, everything they say. Agende. Then the president asked you, I have no place to go. Do you know why he said he has no place to go?
Of course not. Because
he has no life outside of State House, as long as Uganda remains a failed state, where we, innocent people, are not going to die and then start killing each other.
But did you think that that would be leading the country into a people's uprising that can end up into the Tahrir Square, the Egypt situation?
Don't talk about foreign countries. We're talking about
Of course, Egyptians were...
No, forget about those countries. Let me tell you something.
Who caused almost
in this country, we like comparing things. But if all you can eat is beans and posho, don't compare yourself to Americans. Because if you had the abilities, you would eat as well as the Americans, and you would talk about beans and posho. As long as you're on beans and posho, don't compare your democracy to what they do in America or anything else. I want us to focus on Uganda. The problems are not foreigners. The problems are fellow Ugandans.
Let me give you a lively example of almost that transpired into a Tahrir Square. The 2009 Kabaka Kayunga visitation. It almost ended up into a Tahrir Square situation when people were almost rising up against the state, and the scores of about 38 dead bodies that were killed by armed government security personnel. Well, it was a people's uprising.
My brother, we have had people's uprisings where the members of the armed forces simply clear the way and say, if the president has messed up, let the president meet the people who have been the victims of his management. So for me, I don't make assumptions about Katumba Wamala, about Kaihura and other members of Kaihura of the police. I don't automatically say they are going to do that and that. They are very intelligent people. They are watching. They are going to make a decision at the right time. One decision they can make is simply to line up the streets and tell the people, you know where the problem starts from, you walk and talk to President Museveni.
The freedom of expression you're talking about, Doctor, is between me and it's the freedom that I and you, who are the elites, have. But look at your grandmother or your sister of your Senga, Nichana Mukaka, who's illiterate, doesn't know her right, but he is the potential voter.
So
he's the one who determines the existence of the regime and the exit of the regime.
My brother, you spoke of my grandmother. In my life,
who may not know their rights.
Politically,
yeah,
I have one father, Uganda. Every other communities, the 15 Acholis and so forth, those are my stepmothers, and Uganda is my mother. Now, when I talk about my grandmothers listening, I'm not talking about grandmothers listening in Uganda. I have all those grandmothers all over Uganda. Yeah. And the moment you are free to communicate, they are free to hear in whatever forum. And incidentally, I've been on TV a number of times, but the radio stations are doing a wonderful job. They speak so many languages, so that the grandmothers and the mothers and the fathers and the uncles out there in the villages are listening to what is going on. And if they were not wise in 1965, if they were not wise yesterday, we are giving them information. Omuganda mutuufu bwagamba tindi mugezi nga mubulire.